Good morning, good morning. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. 9:33 a.m. on this November 13th. Glad to have you with me again this morning. We're going to take a look at the headlines of today, and we're going to see what's going on in this market and get a good foothold on what is taking place today and get us prepared for the rest of the day, see if there's any trading opportunities, and just overall get a good understanding of what's going on for today. So thanks for joining me again, as you have been. And so I got the front page of Yahoo Finance here with me, and it looks like we got some good news. So first things first, let's bring up my little pen and place it over here. Let's take a look at what we got. Michael Saylor. What's going on with this guy? Latest from YF Invest. Saylor slams short seller channels. All right. So QQQ's Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on with the Qs this morning. We had a good move over the last couple of days. We had price reacting from some demand here on the daily time frame. Same thing happened with the S&P, although it was the weekly demand zone. Okay, we previously pointed this out to you guys. Weekly demand came into play, and this is what caused price to move up. All right. So recently, what happened yesterday, or last couple of days, I should say, we had this area of supply being removed. Okay, we were talking about how medium-term buying was coming into this market. Okay, short-term selling was being removed, because when medium-term buying comes into play, we need to see a continuation of that buying on the smaller time frames. This is how we know how far or how high to expect price to move. So medium-term buying came into play. Short-term selling got taken out, which means the banks were not interested in short-term selling after this medium-term buying zone came into play. And now we are simply retracing, okay? No big deal. Because when short-term buying comes into play and price rallies, a lot of times what we'll see is price drop back into these areas before a bigger push to the upside, okay? So the headlines for the S&P, they're going to be negative, all right? They're going to be bearish. They're going to be talking about why the S&P 500 is dropping. There'll be all sorts of explanations, okay? But the key thing that you want to remember is it's dropping because of what's happening on the charts in terms of the buying and selling taking place by the institutions. And in this case, it's the buying that is taking place. All right. Buying is just not going to continue. It's not going to drive price up, in a straight line. Buying takes place, it rallies, it drops back into the buying zones, and then continues. Okay. This is the cycle that plays out over and over and over again. All right. When you don't know that this is happening, then you'll fall prey to the news outlets explaining things to you in the ways that they want to, and it will typically lead to just confusion. All right. So this is what's happening here. So now we're getting that drop to the downside, and it's no big deal. We just let it do its thing, because I suspect in around this area somewhere, we're going to see that buying coming back into place and price continue to the upside, right? Those are the odds, okay? The odds are that is what's going to happen because of institutional demand here on the weekly time frame and because of what's happening here on the daily time frame. Yes, could they drop price into this area of buying and decide that they want to take price lower? Yes, it's possible. Is it likely? No, it's not likely. Okay. But can they change their mind last minute and say, oh, we want to drop price, even though we've been focusing on buying? It's not likely. It's not what they usually do. So we expect price to continue going higher. Okay. So Nasdaq, same situation. We still have demand in play. It's retracing down. We don't have that same dynamic with respect to institutional selling being removed. Okay, we don't have that dynamic playing out, but we do have that on the S&P. Okay, and what typically happens on one will typically happen on the others. Looking at the lower time frames, though, we could examine price action and look for institutional buying zones on the lower time frame. Okay, I'll do that at another time. Let's look at the Dow Jones. Beautiful. It's a beautiful move. Okay. Let's look at the higher time frame. Okay. Look at this massive imbalance here. Massive. Okay. That took price to all-time highs. Price is just retracing back to that area. So it's likely if price gets down to that area, we're going to see a move to the upside. Likely. Okay. Decent odds of that happening. But it is a very tiny zone. So, we might see it's possible that it penetrates through that area. I'd be focusing on the S&P. Okay. This is what I'd be focusing on. And I'd be focusing in on this area here. Okay. That's the area I'd be focusing on. All right. Let's see. Longest shutdown in U.S. history is now over. That's good news. That means CFTC data will be coming back. Let's take a look if it's been updated yet. I refresh my screen, not yet. September 23rd was the last set of data that we got, so they have not updated it yet. And I'm assuming it's going to take a few weeks until they get that going. So something to look forward to in the near future. Delta CEO calls government shutdown inexcusable. All right, so let's see Delta Airlines and what's happening with that stock. DAL, not much going on here. Not a stock I would like to trade. It doesn't look very good. It does look like some demand was located here. Fell short of contacting. Yeah, it's not a stock that I would want to trade. JetBlue, JBLU. Let's see what this one is doing. We have big institutional demand down here. Price just traded through it very, very quickly down here, as you can see right there. Went as low as $3.34. It could hold this area and start rallying, but I would want to see institutional supply being removed first. So it looks like we might have an area here of interest. Okay. It'll take some time for price to go up there and break through it. So I wouldn't be interested in trading this one unless that took place. Okay. Because it could go further down. And I don't want to get involved in something unless I know for a fact that the banks are buying. Disney misses on Q4 revenue, bumps up dividend. All right, so let's check that one out, Disney. It is a stock that I've been interested in and one that I've been following for some time. It's falling. Okay, so they're saying it's due to earnings. But let's take a look here. This is the real chart that you need to be focusing your attention on, okay? We got a massive area here that just cannot be broken through. It's been contacted several times, as you can see, and each time it's been contacted, it's dropped. And as you can see, there's big institutional demand sitting down here at the lows. And every time that's been contacted, price has rallied up from it. So we got this ranging dynamic, all right? I would not be interested in trading this one unless this area got removed, okay? And even then, if this area gets removed, you have to understand that right above price, there's another institutional selling area. So we could break through this range, price rallies up to this supply, and then we see another drop, okay? So ideally, I'd like to see a really nice area of demand be formed, because if price is going to go up and test this area, if it comes down to this demand zone, I'd be interested in getting into a long trade there. That would be a good zone, okay? A spot that I'd be interested in. All right, so I'll be looking at that when the time comes, but we're not there yet. And, these headlines saying that Disney is dropping because of that, It's not really what's going on here. The dynamic is every time they come up to this area, they're selling. Okay. Let's see. ADP. This one's on my watch list. In fact, I have a long trade going on this one. I have a long position that I've initiated, and I've alerted members to this trade. So this is one that I'm in for a longer period of time with targets much higher. So I'm gonna wait and hold this one for as long as I need to until it does what it needs to do. But if you're a very conservative trader, what you'd want to do is wait for this area of selling to be taken out first, and then buy pullbacks. But I got in at a really nice demand area, so I'm going to be patient with that one. Michael Burry deregisters from SEC, so he's going to be looking to trade his own money, it looks like. So PLTR, he's short PLTR and he's short Nvidia, apparently, with some of the filings that he has made. And you know, it's really high up there, okay? And we're seeing supply coming into the market, so some selling is taking place here. We have a couple areas here. This one's the one of interest for me, where he was selling, or sorry, where the banks were selling. So big selling pressure up here. If price was to get up there, we'd likely see another push to the downside. But, you know, in terms of where price is going to drop to, you know, there's really nothing to stop price from dropping down to at least this area. Okay, this is an area where institutions were buying, so they could buy again. It's not guaranteed that they're going to do that, but they could buy again there. If we look at the weekly time frame, you know, the last area that was contacted was right here. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of trading to the left of where price is right now. And when we have a lot of trading to the left of current price, that means it's very easy for price to drop through these areas, okay? So any type of strong momentum to the downside here could easily continue until we get to this buying area down here. All right. I don't currently have a position in PLTR. If I was to initiate a position, I'd be looking to get in right in this area here. Okay. That's the latest major institutional buying zone on Palantir. So I'd be waiting for a price to drop in here, show me that the institutions are buying, and then I'll join them when I see that. Okay, so that's Palantir, Nvidia. Same thing, we got supply in play. If we take a look at the daily time frame, you can see that institutional selling came into play here. Price rallied into institutional selling, and it's now dropping again from that institutional selling. So, you know, it's like I was saying before, we look for institutional buying and selling on the charts. We watch to see how price creates these zones, and we wait to see when price rallies up into supply zones to watch as it drops until it gets to institutional buying zones. And if we're interested in buying, we want to look for buying zones to come into play. On the weekly time frame, we have this scenario here. This wasn't a valid demand area, although it was a good imbalance. Price came down to it really quickly, so it's not an area that I would suspect would hold. Could they start buying from this area? Sure, but it's not a valid area of demand where I would expect to see price rally up from it. So somewhat bearish what I'm seeing, okay? At least short term, we're definitely seeing bearish pressure coming into play here for Nvidia. Okay, so Disney, Bitcoin, let's take a look at Bitcoin. What's going on with Bitcoin? Last time we checked with Bitcoin, I told you I was somewhat bearish Bitcoin because of the dynamic of what's playing out here. We look at the monthly time frame, we can see that right here we got a situation where institutional demand is located lower on the charts. This is an area where I would consider buying Bitcoin. Right now we're above price, so there's no stopping price to drop further if it wants to. Okay, and when I say if it wants to, I mean the institutions can come in and start buying whenever they want to. But if we were to look at what they have done and what we suspect will continue based on what they have done, we'd suspect that price would drop, okay, and drop to this institutional buying area before they continue pushing price to the upside. If you look at the weekly time frame, you can see there was an area that we were watching for a long signal. It wasn't produced, and we got a lack of a move to the upside off of this area. Didn't go much further than the previous highs, and now we got this area breaking through. We got institutional supply coming in here. Okay, this is institutional selling here at the 110 to 116 area. So with major selling by the banks happening here at the highs, and nothing to stop price from dropping lower, I am bearish Bitcoin right now. Okay, so just be aware of that. What else we got? Cisco. I like Cisco. I've been keeping an eye on this one. Big gap to the upside, and look where it hit. Wowzers. Wow, just fell short. On November 3rd, 2025, I put a target here on Cisco for 79.63. Shared that with students, okay? On November 3rd, folks. November 3rd, okay? So that was when price was right here, okay? When price was right here, I put a target of right there. And look how close we got there. So darn close. Incredible. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Oh yeah, there was institutional demand that came into buying here. Right here, came into play. Yes, indeed. The banks came in and bought last minute, caused price to go up to that area. Okay, now they're taking profits. This is the area where I suspect over time we're going to see a drop. Okay, we are looking at the 6-month time frame to locate this target. We looked at price structure based on institutional trading. Okay, where were the banks last significantly buying and where did they push price? And we just replicate that move. Okay, and that takes us to here. That's how I located that target. So likely we're going to see them taking profits at these highs, okay, until it retraces to another level, and it could actually be here. I look at the monthly time frame and I see something here. This is pretty good right here. Okay, this 65 to 69 area depends on how quickly price retraces, but we could get a retracement to that area before continuation. It looks pretty good. All right, Cisco, Alibaba, love this stock. Love this stock. Watching for a bigger drop because I'd be interested in buying this one down here on the monthly time frame. This is the only zone I'm interested in getting long this one. Okay, I was previously long this one, closed my position. Now I'm waiting for a drop, and then I will enter in long for a longer term hold. I have targets on Alibaba up here, okay, at $205. So if I get in at 123, rally up to 205, that's a nice increase there, okay? So I'm gonna be waiting for that. And JD, let's take a look at JD. Nothing of interest for me. I don't like the way that the chart looks, so I will be passing on that. I am in Berkshire Hathaway. Look at the stock right now. It is flying. I bought it down here. Gave this one to my members. Let's look at gold. I wanted to go through gold. We had a potential short setup here off of this area of demand. Now here's the deal. Because we have a situation where the banks are taking profits on long positions, the dynamic of what is displayed on the chart is typically a little bit different than when they are actively acquiring a short position. So we had an area of selling here where price rallied into it. And technically what we should be watching for is momentum to shift off that area on the 4-hour time frame, which is one time frame lower than the daily. I was looking at silver, and we'll get to silver in a minute. But when you deviate too far from the lower time frames that are connected to that time frame, then you start to get lower odds of a move taking place. But I was pointing out to you guys that we had this area of supply that was in the process of being taken out, and we had an imbalance here. So when supply is being removed and we have a big imbalance being created, that typically means the big institutions are coming in with buying orders. But we don't know that for a fact just yet because we need to wait for this area to become valid. All right, and that's what's happening right now. It's validating whether or not this imbalance is actually a demand zone. So we're going to wait and see how this plays out. It's too early to tell, but we're just going to be patient, okay? There was extremely aggressive buying that just recently took place, which we can see on the RSI here. And so this is just shifting that dynamic right now. We're coming back in above 60 RSI, which is somewhat bullish. What we'd like to see is a peak being formed with RSI lower at around 60 or below to indicate that there's going to be a move to the downside. So we're going to be watching this area here. Could this demand zone hold? Sure. If it becomes valid, it could hold, and it could also be removed, producing new supply for potential short trades. But I will be watching for a move to the downside because I do believe they are profit taking on long positions. And when we get the CFTC data, we'll have proof of it. Okay, we'll see exactly what they're doing. So stay tuned for that because when the data comes, I'll share it with you guys, and we'll examine that, and we'll eventually get into a short position here. It's going to drop, okay? But look, RSI is very aggressive. RSI is very aggressive. RSI is very aggressive. It's going to take time to shift that momentum, so we got to be patient with that, okay? Looking at silver, same thing. We had a potential short trade off of this area. I was aggressive. I got into a short trade there. I was sharing you the details of that. It was a 1 hour momentum shift off of a daily. That was super aggressive because that's making the assumption that price is going to peak at that supply zone and then drop. And as you can see, it's not ready for that, okay? When we look at the RSI, it is super aggressive. Look what they just created, right? Well in the 80s, the RSI. So super aggressive with buying. It takes time for them to shift that momentum, okay? Considering the fact that when you look at the RSI on the monthly and the weekly, it's very, very aggressive. It's going to take time to shift that momentum. The conservative signal would have been to watch as price entered into that daily area of supply for it to shift momentum on the 4 hour time frame. So because I wasn't conservative, I took a trade very aggressively, and it was a loser. I risked very, very small amount of my capital because I knew it was highly risky. But if it happened to shift momentum at that daily supply zone, it could have easily dropped to my target here, and I was looking at a 20-to-1 risk to reward. It was well worth it. Okay, I was risking $300 to make 7,000. Okay, so it was well worth that risk for me. So I tried it. Okay, but this is what happens sometimes when you are too aggressive and you move away from the more conservative way of trading. You come across these type of losses. Does it work sometimes? Yeah, sometimes it does work, and sometimes it doesn't. Okay. And so that's it. So I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be watching, waiting for the government to release the CFTC data. And when it does, I'll do a report on it. Detailed reports for members, so whiteoakfx.com. So if you want to get those detailed reports and take advantage of the information that I provide, great. I'll be giving trade entries and all that stuff when it's ready for silver and gold. The conservative trades, the ones that are high probability of working out. And I'll share some analysis with you guys on Twitter and in the Telegram channel. So if you want to join the Telegram channel, do so. Link is at the bottom of my website, whiteoakfx.com. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining, and take care, and we'll talk to you soon. All right. Take